Hi everyone, welcome to your first tutorial. It's probably going to be pretty boring and bland today. Basically I'm just showing you the simple layout of how to create a new composition in After Effects. So you'd usually go new project or Control-Alt-N, however there's already a new project so there's no need. In After Effects you need to create a new composition in order to do any work. I'll just press Control-N. I'll give it a name, about just AE Tutorials 01, something really creative. Preset. Your preset will usually be on NTSC DV. This is because it's an American program. You're going to want it to be on PAL DV. A lot of people don't know the difference and wonder why there's NTSC and PAL and what the differences are. I'd suggest Googling it if you want technical terms. I'm not going to go into that because it's too complicated, but basically NTSC is for America and Asian regions. PAL is for Australia, and Australian television is what you'd usually use PAL and square pixels for. I'm going to use widescreen square pixels today because that's the one Frank usually works in more resolution. I'll just choose full. I'll talk about that a bit later of what the resolution's for, but full's the best to have it on at the moment. Duration is automatically set to 30 seconds. You can play with whatever time you want. Also, I would suggest always choosing PAL DV square pixels, just because it'll make it the best resolution, in my opinion. If you can change the timing, if you have something and you know a specific time, then say an hour, 60 minutes, whatever, then you can change that. So this is your basic composition. It'll usually come out like this. It'll usually be a black screen. It just come up without a screen because that's what I had it set to the last project I was working on. You can toggle between a whole bunch of different things. This is your basic work area. Here, if you click this bar, this is your transparency layer. This will allow you to work with a transparent background. So if you're wanting just that, you got your title action safety grid here. You've got a whole range of others, proportional grids. If you don't untick that, it'll stay on. You have your graphs, basically to get them all accurate. You have rulers, so you can rule it up the lines just by dragging from the top and the left, which will make it better for if you're wanting to do things in squares or specific compositions with titles. It'll make it much neater and more organized. Your views, you can play around with your views. Your camera view is pretty pointless until you create an actual camera. Your 50%, this is your zoom levels. You can go up to 100%, any level, 50%. I'd suggest just zooming with your middle mouse button. If you just scroll it forwards and backwards, that'll zoom in and out as well, which is much easier and much quicker when you're working. This is your project settings. So now that you've created a new composition, it comes up here in your project. You can change colors and everything else with them. You can select a new folder just by simply right-clicking and a new composition. Also your workspace, it's currently set to standard. You can play around with that to whatever you want. So if I click effects, it'll set it to a more optimal composition settings for the effects. But I'm just going to work in standard today just because that's what use will probably be working in. I'd prefer to make a custom one myself, which you can do later. So if you click this little folder down here, it creates a new folder. I'll just name it the same as my composition because that would be the name of my whole project. If you just drag and drop it in, you can see it goes in. You can put as many compositions, video files, music files as you want in. To delete it, just click the little rubbish bin. I would really strongly suggest though, whenever you first open up a project, creating some folders and putting them in for organization, because it's going to save a lot of time, and it's pretty important if you're working with a bigger project than what I'm doing today. You can access your compositional settings again to change any of your power to NTSC or whatever you want, to change your timing just by right clicking in your main timeline. So that's the basics. That's the basics of the compositions and setting everything up. Now you can get into the funnest stuff of creating solids and actually creating something to animate. I'll show you how to create some motion titles, how to create backgrounds, coloring effects, and how to then render it out in the next one. However, unfortunately, I'm having problems with that as usual. So I will have that up as soon as I can. Thanks for listening to this incredibly boring tutorial, and I'll try and make them a lot more interesting and add stuff later. See ya.